The decorated colonel circled around her like a shark. His metal uniform, heavy with medals, sparkled with luminescent lights. His voice was laced with mockery as he addressed the simple-looking officer in front of him. "Captain," he repeated with theatrical contempt. "Captain of what, exactly?" "Officer's desk department." The room filled with nervous laughter, junior officers eager to please. But something was wrong. The woman's calm demeanor never wavered. Even as the colonel's public humiliation intensified, she simply waited, watching him with patient eyes that saw things these men could not imagine. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If you enjoy stories about quiet power and unexpected moments of justice, consider subscribing for more content. The briefing room at Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton buzzed with nervous energy as officers prepared for their quarterly combat readiness review. First Lieutenant Ryan Caldwell moved methodically between the rows of chairs, aligning each one with military precision. His dark eyes slid repeatedly to the wall clock. 6:30, 90 minutes until Colonel Brennan's arrival. "Another block, another inspection," muttered Sergeant Major Torres as he helped set up the presentation materials. Lieutenant Caldwell straightened his now impeccable uniform. "The colonel expects perfection. Remember September of last year? Lieutenant Harris with scuffed boots." Torres winced, demoted on the spot in front of everyone. "Exactly," Caldwell said, "so check everything twice." The young second lieutenant next to him paled noticeably, looking down at his shoes before feverishly polishing them on the back of his shag. The room gradually filled with officers of ever higher rank, each adding to the tension. Captains and majors entered in small groups, speaking in low, measured tones about readiness, indicators, and tactical assessments. Junior officers stayed on the periphery, triple-checking their assigned tasks. In the far corner, almost invisible among the gathering crowd, stood a woman in a standard Marine uniform. Captain Elena Voss moved with quiet efficiency, occasionally consulting a thin folder. Her uniform was perfectly in accordance with regulations, but noticeably lacking in decoration compared to others. No battle ribbons or special commendations adorned her chest, just the simple silver captain's epaulets on her collar. Major Hendricks, a gray-haired intelligence officer with 20 years of experience etched on his face, approached her. "Captain Waz," he said. His voice was respectfully low. The protocol officer asked, "Would you prefer to sit in the command section?" She smiled politely, but shook her head. "That's good, Major Hendricks. Let's continue as planned." He hesitated. "Adam, with all due respect, the colonel may be a bit traditional in his expectations. I know of Colonel Brennan's reputation." Her voice was measured, unimpressed, unconcerned. "This arrangement better serves our purpose." Major Hendricks nodded, though his expression suggested disagreement. "As you wish, Captain." As he left, Hendricks pulled his secure phone from his pocket and typed out a short message. Across the room, two senior officers checked their devices almost simultaneously. Their eyes found Captain WHO before returning to their conversations. The clock reached 7:30. Lieutenant Caldwell clapped his hands sharply. "Everything is in place. The colonel will arrive in 15 minutes. Final checks now." The room erupted into organized chaos as officers rushed to their positions. The presentation slides have received their final review. Glasses of water were filled, chairs were straightened for the last time. Amidst this activity, Captain WHO remained motionless, an island of calm. She watched the preparations with an analytical eye, occasionally jotting down a brief note in her small leather notebook. Unlike the others, she showed no signs of anxiety about the upcoming test. At precisely 7:45 a.m., the double doors at the entrance swung open with dramatic force. Colonel Marcus Brennan walked in like a force of nature, immaculately camouflaged. At 54, his face was weathered but commanding. Steel gray hair cut mercilessly short. 3 rows of colorful ribbons adorned his chest, topped by the golden eagle of a naval intelligence officer. "Attention on deck," the cry rang out throughout the room. Every person stood in strict attention, back straight, eyes forward. The rustling sound of movement ceased instantly. Colonel Brennan stood just inside the door, surveying his area with practiced authority. His assistant, Captain Rodriguez, stood 2 steps behind, holding a tablet. 4 officers followed him, forming the colonel's usual cortege. "At ease," the colonel finally said. His voice carried easily throughout the room. The assembled officers relaxed slightly, moving into a state of formal rest. "Looks like you're all ready for me today," Brennan remarked, stepping forward. "Hopefully this preparation goes beyond furniture arrangement." The remark earned a wave of laughter. The formal part of the inspection began with a presentation on combat readiness indicators. Major Chen, the base's operations officer, conducted the briefing with mechanical efficiency, flicking between slides filled with statistics and status reports. Colonel Brennan interrupted from time to time with pointed questions that sent junior officers rushing for supporting documentation. "These vehicle maintenance charts," Brennan said, pointing to a screen, "show an 18% increase in downtime over the last quarter." "Explain." Major Chen visibly swallowed. "Sir, we've been experiencing supply chain issues with specialized engine components. Logistics has submitted requisitions through multiple channels to resolve the delays. Logistics is not your responsibility, Major." The colonel's tone suggested it was Chen's responsibility. "Yes, sir. I've personally monitored weekly and have implemented a workaround using certified alternative parts where safety parameters allow." The colonel nodded, slightly appeased. This pattern repeated itself throughout the presentation. Brennan identified weaknesses. Officers explained contingencies. The colonel reluctantly accepted their solution, making it clear they should have done better. From her position near the back wall, Captain WHO observed the interaction while others feverishly scribbled notes. She remained motionless, watching the colonel's technique. By 9 o'clock, the formal presentation had concluded. Colonel Brennan stood from his seat, rolling his shoulders as if shaking off boredom. "Well, it was thorough," he said. His tense smile never reached his eyes. A polite laugh went through the room. "Now," he continued, "perhaps we can move on to some real assessment. In my experience, you learn more in 5 minutes of conversation than in 20 slides of statistics." The atmosphere changed when Breno began working with the room of senior officers. It was camaraderie, exchanging familiar handshakes and internal references to past deployments. With mid-level officers, he was probing, asking unexpected technical questions that tested their knowledge. With the younger ones, he was intimidating, finding minor violations of uniform or problems with posture to criticize. Every interaction strengthened the colonel's position at the top of the hierarchy. Every conversation demonstrated his mastery of the complex world these officers inhabited. Each exchange left the recipient feeling thoroughly vetted. Eventually, his path led him to the back corner. For the first time, Colonel Brennan noticed Captain WHO standing quietly with her thin folder of notes. Something in her behavior caught his attention. Not nervous, not seeking approval, just observant. "And who are you?" he asked, raising his eyebrows in anticipation. She met his gaze directly. "Captain Elena Voss, sir." Brennan made a show of looking her over from head to toe, noting the lack of decoration on her uniform. His eyes deliberately lingered on her captain's shoulder straps. "Captain," he repeated, filling the word with theatrical skepticism. "What exactly?" "Desk officer's department." Laughter erupted around them, louder than the polite laughter his previous remarks had earned. The junior officers sensed an opportunity to gain favor by recognizing the colonel's wit. Captain WHO's expression remained unchanged. "I'm assigned to Pacific Command, sir." "That's pretty vague, Captain." Bernard began to circle around her. His manner was reminiscent of a shark assessing its prey. "In my time, captains actually commanded something. A platoon, a company, combat operations." He pointed to his own shoulder straps. "What exactly are you in command of?" The temperature in the room seemed to rise. Some officers shifted uncomfortably, while others grinned, enjoying the sight of the colonel putting someone in their place. "I have recently returned from an extended assignment, sir," she replied evenly. "Ah, a long appointment," Brennan parodied, making air quotes with his fingers. "How mysterious. Perhaps you would like to enlighten us about your experience." Captain Waz remained silent, neither defensive nor confrontational. Her calm demeanor only seemed to increase the colonel's attention to her. Lieutenant Caldwell, standing at the colonel's elbow, noticed something strange. Major Hendricks watched the interaction with growing alarm. The elderly officer moved to the computer terminal and began typing quickly. His expression became increasingly worried. "Sir," Caldwell whispered, lightly touching the colonel's sleeve, "perhaps we should continue the inspection schedule. Tactical demonstration prepared." "In a minute, Lieutenant." Brennan waved him off. "I'm running a check right now. Leadership assessment." He turned back to the WHO. "You see, Captain, in a real Marine Corps, rank comes with responsibility, power, and the presence of a leader." He gestured widely around the room. These officers respect rank because they understand the weight behind it, the experience it represents. The colonel leaned closer. "So tell us, Captain, what is your actual position in the real Marine Corps?" As the question hung in the air, something unexpected happened. At the back of the room, 3 senior officers received simultaneous alerts on their secured devices. One choked on his water, the other's eyes widened almost comically. The third looked from his screen at Captain WHO with an expression of dawning recognition. Lieutenant Caldwell noted these reactions with growing concern. He looked at Major Hendricks, who was now staring at his computer screen with a stunned expression. "Sir," Caldwell tried again, more urgently. "Not now, Lieutenant," the colonel grunted. His attention is completely focused on Captain WHO, waiting for her answer. The tension in the room shifted imperceptibly. Officers with higher security clearances began to exchange significant glances. The whispers began near the terminal, where Major Hendricks stood, gradually moving forward through the assembled officers. Brennan, focused on his goal, remained ignorant of the changing atmosphere. "Nothing to say, Captain. I'm sure we would all benefit from your vast experience." Before the WHO captain could respond, the base's comm system emitted a distinctive priority message tone. "Colonel Brennan, secure call from the commander, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, Line 1, Priority Alpha." The colonel frowned, confused by both the interruption and the priority level. He looked at his assistant. "Captain Rodriguez, pass on the message. I'm in the middle of an inspection." Captain Rodriguez came closer, lowering his voice. "Sir, this is marked Priority Alpha. The protocol requires an immediate response." Brennan's expression darkened, but decades of Marine Corps discipline prevailed. "Continue checking," he ordered. "I'll be back soon." With a last pointed glance at Captain WHO, he left the room. His motorcade followed behind. As soon as the door closed, the room exploded with whispers of conversation. Lieutenant Caldwell approached Major Hendricks, who remained at the computer terminal. "Sir, what's going on? Who is she?" Hendricks looked up. His face was pale. "Did you run the standard team check protocol before the colonel's arrival?" "Of course, sir. All officers present were checked against the base registry." "The database registry," Hendricks repeated flatly. "You have verified the Unified Command authorization." Caldwell's stomach dropped. "This is above my clearance level, sir." "Exactly." Hendricks turned the screen slightly, showing a classified personnel file with several security watermarks. Koldul caught sight of the photographs of the WHO captain next to the redacted service record. Around the room, groups of officers formed concentric circles of information sharing. Those with higher clearance levels whispered to their colleagues, who reacted with varying degrees of surprise and disbelief. Caldwell caught snippets of the conversation. Operation Scarlet Dawn was thought to be a black operation by the Joint Command. The Kabul extraction incident had her thinking she was still deployed overseas. Captain Voss herself remained where the colonel had left her, consulting her watch with mild interest. Suddenly, the door swung open. Colonel Byrne is back. His face was deathly pale. All theatrical confidence evaporated. He scanned the assembled officers until he found Captain WHO near the back wall. The room fell silent as he approached her. Its sweep was replaced by a rigid formality that seemed alien to his figure. "Captain," he began. He started, then he finished. "I believe I owe you a polite address." She met his gaze evenly. Her expression is neither triumphant nor offended. "Perhaps you could clarify your current position for the record." The whole room held its breath, waiting. If you've ever witnessed someone quietly command respect without demanding it, share your story in the comments. What moments have you seen when quiet power spoke louder than any show of force? Subscribe for more stories about leadership and unexpected power. Commander of the Joint Task Force, Special Operations Command. "The Pacific Ocean," simply, she stated. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Even those who had suspected something still looked stunned when it was confirmed. Several officers unconsciously straightened their posture. Colonel Bernard's face lost color. The name she had just spoken surpassed it on several levels. A position equivalent to a one-star general, commanding intelligence, Navy SEALs, and Army Rangers throughout the Pacific Theater. His mouth opened, closed, then opened again. This position was inactivated following the Pacific reorganization, reinstated under Secret Directive 72 Alpha last month, staffed by Major Hendricks from a neighboring area following the success of Operation Scarlet Dawn. Recognition appeared on several faces in the room. Operation Scarlet Charge, the secret evacuation of nuclear weapons inspectors and their families from hostile territory, preventing a catastrophic international incident. Colonel Brennan's hand shook slightly as he slowly, deliberately removed his cap. His theatrical confidence was gone, replaced by the strict discipline instilled in every Marine from the first day of boot camp. "Commander," he said, performing a perfect formal salute. Across the room, officers stood at attention. Salutes went up in unison. A forest of hands rose in belated recognition. Captain WHO, the commander of WHO, returned the salute with simple dignity. "At ease," she said. Her voice sounded natural now, no longer deliberately muffled. "Please continue the scan as scheduled." The scan resumed with a surreal quality. Where Brennan had been theatrical and intimidating, the WHO commander was precise and analytical. Her questions directly pointed to operational weaknesses that others had carefully concealed. At the center of tactical operations, She paused in front of the display. Your perimeter defenses show a vulnerability in Sector 7 near the canyon ridge. What countermeasures have been implemented? The tactical officer blinked rapidly. We have increased patrol frequency and added surveillance drones, and the topographic blind spot created by the ridge formation. The officer hesitated. This particular weakness did not appear in any assessment. I am not aware of any blind spots in this sector. Commander. The commander nodded without surprise. The ridge creates a radar and visual shadow approximately 1.5 kilometers wide. It has been used successfully twice in Red Team exercises. Make a note for immediate action.